It's now 7 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order for September 15th. May I have roll call, please?
Chris Brown,
Here.
Amy Grantham,
Here.
Nancy Hopper,
Here.
Katie Jess,
Here.
John Howdy,
Here.
Judy Smith,
Here.
Sarah Whitney.
Here. Pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
You have before you the approval for the previous minutes. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call, please.
Chris Brown,
Aye.
Amy Grantham, Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Howdy,
Aye.
Judy Smith,
Aye.
Sarah Whitney.
Aye. Next, you have 1E, approval of the agenda for this evening. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call, please.
Chris Brown,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Howdy,
Aye.
Judy Smith, Sarah Whitney.
Aye. Next, 2.0, opportunity for the audience. Anyone like to address the audience? Now's your time. They're all bashful. We will go with reports. 3A, the Fort Morgan High School Student Representative report, please.
Hi everyone. What's going on in the high school right now? We have the fall play, and we just had auditions 2 weeks ago, and now they are in session for rehearsals. So that's really exciting. It's much ado about nothing, I believe. Hard to stay in touch with that one, but we have 3 volleyball games this week. One at home. Thursday we play away in Fort Collins against Liberty Commons, and then Saturday we play in Pueblo. And then soccer has a game tomorrow and Saturday. They also play in Pueblo on Saturday. Spirit Club has a big sale at the volleyball game on the 23rd. Volleyball is doing a serve-a-thon fundraiser October 3rd. Thank you, Judy. Cross country just had a 30-team meet at home. That was good for them. And then they also just had the brush invitational meet, and the boys placed first and the girls placed second. So we're really proud of them for that. And I think that's about it right now. Football plays Friday at Skyview.
Thank you. Next, we have the Board of Education. I'd just like to report that Iowa's National Association of School Boards Western Regional meeting. Just a point of it, we had the Commissioner of Education there for New Mexico as well as some other dignitaries. There's about 8 states represented there. And just so you know, with New Mexico, their starting salary for a brand new teacher is $55,000. If you are a teacher with a master's degree, you start out at $65,000. And if you have a master's degree in so many years, you're automatically at $75,000. And there's the reason why we have trouble. Delegate Assembly was attended by John, and I would refer to John to give a report on the happenings there.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy. I attended the Delegate Assembly over in Loveland. It was a great opportunity to network with other delegates and districts as well as the CASB board. They all asked where Nancy was, and they said she was off vacationing. So Jubal wants to talk to you.
Oh, yeah.
He knew where you were at. The Delegate Assembly, when a number of priorities that they really were focused on, that the 2 biggest ones were student safety is a real focus for them, as well as finance. And there's a number of resolutions that were adopted at the Delegate Assembly, and I'd invite you to go to the CASB website to look at some of those. Because
Thank you. Just a point of reference, the superintendent evaluation template is going to be addressed in the board book. Bev's going to be taking care of that for us. Just a note, we have board reorganization meeting on November 17th. Congratulations to Amy and Katie and for continuing on next 4 years. Don't know what you asked for. And we'll be welcoming Christy Chisholm as our new board. And we'd like to thank Chris as our retiring board member that she is concluding her end of her term. So Chris, thanks for all you've done. And then there's 2 attachments, and so I'm going to refer to Chris. She wanted to make, I guess, an announcement or put on notice of an event that occurred the other day.
Weeds at my crosswalk were bad. They were really bad after all the rains. They were tall, and I'm thinking that if a kid had run out, and this is to the south of the crosswalk, if a kid had run out, the car wouldn't have been able to see him. So Mark DeLoya, the bus driver, cut down all these weeds. He did it in his own time. He didn't want me to say anything to anyone, but he did. And in my view, I think these are the neighbors' weeds, is what I think. And he cut them all down. He spent a day cutting them down. And then there was there's to the north, my crosswalk is that city area where they have a building. And there was a weed there that was like a bush. It was so big. And in fact, I hid behind it a couple times and scared some of my kids. And that was fun, but he cut it down. He picked up some trash that was there, and he did all of that on his own time. And I said, you know, I want to tell someone because it's so above and beyond your scope of duty that it's huge. And I don't have words enough to say thank you. And he said, no, don't say anything. I did it for the kids. Well, I'm saying it anyway. It's huge what he did.
Thank you, Chris. 3C, Superintendent Report.
So I'd like to start with mentioning, it's not on the board here, but Friday we had an amazing day with, we had a little bit of a toned down version for the middle school. We had a great version for the high school, and we had a message. It was really fun to watch the kids. And I'm really pleased that we were able to bring it. Not on the serious stuff, but as you know, I've sent you a few messages about my concern, and it looks like we're not exactly sure or where we've lost. We're trying to follow it. We did some analytics years for September 1 or October 1. And some years it's lower in September 1. Which means that we would then be in declining enrollment, which means that we would then GDE for the budgetary purpose. There would be approximately a 40 student loss. Again, I'm using the numbers that came from CDE and based on what we had on September 1. And that's pretty significant at $12,900 student, or excuse me, $11,900 per student. It's can be some significant dollars, but we're keeping an eye on it. Again, not ready to set anybody's hair on fire, not ready to go screaming out the doors or anything like that. We just want you to be aware that that's there, and we need to acknowledge that and come up with some strategies to meet that gap. So, any questions on that?
No, I was going to ask you what that accounted to or amounted to as fiscally, but you told us we can do other stuff. So.
Yeah, it's right about $500,000, roughly. You know, the way CDE works, it could be $12. I don't know. I mean, it's just I'm teasing, but you know, it's just nutty sometimes how the formulas come out, and I think we need to keep our eye on it and just see what happens. And I kind of like to do an analysis to find out, which students actually left to see why and why, you know, why. And we may start seeing an uptick when they finish the building down by, start seeing an uptick when they finish the buildings over for, Cargill. I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows at this point, so, but we can sure. The next thing I want to mention here is the Colorado School Counselors Association recognizes a counselor every year as Counselor of the Year. And this year we had the honor of having the Colorado School Counselors Association Elementary School Counselor of the Year. So pretty proud of that, and if you see him, tell him congratulations. We have Ian Ross here tonight from Performance Services, and I just give you a little update. I know there's a section down here. If you have some questions for Ian, you can ask him directly. But I wanted you to know that we went through the process of selection for the Pioneer Entry Project. We had 3 firms that submitted a proposal, and Performance Services rose to the top from the committee. And we are here tonight to recommend to you that we hire them. We're still waiting on to work out the final details of the contract, but present you as contract negotiations, and so we're pleased to have that. And the last thing I want to mention here is a big thank you to Walmart. We get a lot of donations for kids with backpacks and all kinds of school supplies, notebooks, pens, paper, all that stuff. And Walmart actually brought a large amount of that stuff over a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to make sure we tell Walmart thank you. So there's our official thank you. Any questions?
Good evening, everyone. I know that you saw all of our school performance frameworks and district performance frameworks in your emails in the last few weeks here. Very, very happy with some of the results that we are seeing across, especially for us as a district moving up into accredited with improvement plan, and that is a compilation of all 7 buildings who get a performance framework rating. We are seeing some really tremendous success, especially at the high school and Pioneer, who are working very closely with Cindy Ward on very intentional strategic work. I know Rob and our admin team, we've asked Cindy to come replicate some of her unified improvement planning with the rest of our buildings in the afternoon on September 29th. And so we asked the remaining admin to do some work strategically during the last PD day to talk about what priority challenges we're having for students and bringing those forward so we're all unified in coming up with the district improvement strategies. Some pretty significant gains, consistent gains at Lincoln High School as our AEC. They just got their framework last week. And they are off of watch because they have maintained improvement for 2 years, which is great news. Congratulations, Lincoln. We are still on watch for Pioneer, and Green Acres has to maintain, moving from turnaround to performance in 1 year. They have to maintain or gain scores on their framework next year. Otherwise, their clock continues. So it's somewhat of exciting news, but also a cautionary tale when you see that much growth in years and looking at historically where we've been at. Columbine is an improvement, as is Baker. Green Acres is in performance. But really for us as a district, Rob and I submitted the accreditation to the state. This would not be a year that we would request to reconsider any of our scores. And I think what we've been hearing across our buildings from our admin is until we're, at 100 out of 100 points, we still have work to do. And we should always be seeing, growth is a big part of our performance framework. It's at 60% for elementaries, first through 8th grade. And then when it gets to our secondary, it's only 40 because they have the post-secondary and workforce readiness target that they need to meet for matriculation and graduation rates and things like that. So the things that we were targeting, especially for our major improvement strategies, I feel at the elementaries, we're making some progress in the schools that were really in trouble. So good news, and I'm really excited to continue to work with Cindy Ward. She's been doing amazing stuff for us. And do you have any questions around the framework? Works at all? Okay, so our unified improvement plans will be coming to you. They are due on October 15th, so time is coming very fast, but I think our schools are in good shape. Oh, one other school I forgot to mention. So Sherman Early Childhood Center, as you know, does not get a school performance framework. However, I worked with Sherman's staff on September 8th during a PD day, and we used the request to reconsider form that the state puts out, because you can calculate kindergarten data with NWA and DIBELS. And so I took the staff through an exercise to figure out where they might be meeting targets and where we're not meeting targets. I've also asked the state to open up, you have to ask permission, I don't know why, but you have to ask them to open up a unified improvement plan in the system. So theirs will be posted publicly like every other school. We have not done that for a bit yet, but we think that the localized data is very important in moving us forward. Okay, thank you.
3E, Assistant Superintendent of HR.
Good evening. A number of things here for me. We do have a personal action report for your approval tonight. Fairly lengthy one, but things are starting to slow down now, which is nice as school's going. We are following through and asking for the approval of the longevity bonuses, which started in, I believe it was 2019. And it's hard to see that green little scale there. Outlines what we've done each year for the district for each of the classification levels. Those are paid in September payroll, and per your approval tonight, we will move forward with paying those out. The total amount's $112,500 for all three levels of staff, or all four levels of staff. That would be eligible for those bonuses. Of the district stipend list in front of you guys tonight as well. And those are stipends that are paid out for all sports and extra pay situations throughout the district throughout the year. If there's questions there, happy to answer those. Other than that, we are working on a compliance training. It's something that we need to bring ourselves in alliance with. Just kind of major things like Title IX, child abuse. We always obviously do mandatory reporting and things like that. We're going to use a company called Vector. Vector is free to us through our SIDSIP membership. Health Insurance Pool recommends courses that would be in alliance with what they would support us in the defense. So we'll be putting that out hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. I'm in the final stages of setting that up, and we'll roll it out to staff where there are some videos. They're basically training videos from short ones to 20, 30 minutes long. I think the whole training itself will probably take about 4 hours for staff to complete, and we'll give them a window to complete that. That's very gracious, and they can do some of that during their PLCs or during their staff meetings and things of that nature. So we'll be rolling that out soon. We also start in September, and we run that through November, doing our HSA, HRA contributions. HRAs are a little bit easier because that's based on their insurance plans. The HSAs are a little bit more because they have to set up their own accounts. So sometimes we have a few stragglers there to get those allocated out. But those will be going out starting this month as well. And then finally, last board meeting I talked about American Fidelity and bring them on board to provide some added benefits to our staff and help with some coaching and endeavors there that they might be facing in their personal lives. We're in the middle of that transition, but right now we're talking January 1 as a rollout for them to start working with our staff and take over our FSA and our HRA accounts. Any questions for me?
Duff, Chief Financial Officer.
Good evening. So, I presented to you the May financials. It is, in my opinion, the monthly numbers don't do much other than tell you what happened in the month. If you look at the year-to-date, it's a better picture of what's really been going on. So we have 11 months to look at. We've gotten 87% of the revenue projected, and we've used 85% of the expenditures. The number that's showing down here for what we think we're gonna end up with for income or loss is gonna drastically change after we go through audit, but that's about what presents on a cash basis. The little blue box at the bottom just shows cash balances for last year versus this year, just so you can kind of get an idea how we're doing there. And then the bottom schedule just breaks out the expenditures at the top that are put into by program. This will break it out, how much of that is salaries, benefits, in a different category, but they total the same. And then on that pretty graph, that first one should say month to date, not quarter to date. I always think the graphs are interesting, it's just a visual of what's going on. If we jump to mill levy, once again, the revenue for mill levy is based on property tax and when they're collected, so that will finish out in June plus the accrual, and then we'll have a better picture of what's going on there. They've used 82% of their budget, which is kind of a good place to, should be nice. Looking at daycare, they were set to have an allocation from general fund of 165, and at this point, we've only had to fund 75,000, which tells me they're doing better. I was looking at the top up here, it had quite an increase in daycare fees over the previous year. So, I mean, I know that she went through an increase, but it's really having an effect on this, which is in a positive light for sure. They've used about 91% of their budgeted expenditures, and so once again, we may not have to fund the rest of that 165. We'll see what that looks like. Cap reserve, nothing really remarkable there, other than the allocation from general fund was funded in June, which is why year-to-date it shows nothing for income, but it's budgeted for 519. All those allocations were funded in June, so they're fully paid out. And they use about 89% of their budget for expenditures, which is a good place to be 11 months in. Insurance had nothing remarkable other than, once again, the allocation hadn't been funded until June for that. I do think we're gonna come in a little bit under expenditure-wise what we thought we were gonna have, but we'll see how that plays out in a month. Preschool. We received more in CPP than I was expecting, so it's also looking pretty good. I had budgeted a $68,000 deficit, and at this point, we're at $73,000 to the good. So, hope that trend continues on through the end of June. I guess we're already through June. But once we have all the numbers recorded, I live in two different worlds all the time. There's nothing really on food service other than they do appear to be over budget on some of their expenditures, so I wanted to take a look at that and see if the revenue's gonna catch up with that, or if we need to do something with a board approval for that. The state is always happy they at least use most of what they have, because they don't want you building up a fund balance in food service. So that's one fund that you don't get really upset about if they go all the way to zero, because they're supposed to. Federal funds is just in and out, same thing with student activity funds. I am really excited to have Greg on board, because he's really working with me on the student activity funds, and we work well together, and I think we're gonna really see some good things happening there. On the redemption fund, once again, the revenue is driven by tax revenue as it's collected, so I expect that to be fully funded by the time we record all the stuff in June. Building fund, we are waiting on another BEST grant request that I filed with the state. I ran into a little problem that I'm working with Jay on, because Milvig we had our BEST grant, and then we had the supplemental, but they took part of the BEST grant and shoved it into this billing, and so it's been kind of a headache, because they're like, well, this doesn't equal the grant, and so we'll get it straightened out and get our money, but they just left it a little bit nice here. And private purpose or scholarship fund, it's in good shape. I think I think this year, I've seen more kids actually applying for scholarships. Because in previous years, I just found it shocking that they weren't applying. I mean, apply, you don't have to pay for it yourself. So anyway, any questions on these? I will say we are starting to work on audits. We are still hoping to have it completed before the end of the year. All the confirmations have been sent out, and we're starting now. We've got all the information from Alio into Skyward. We can start posting the audit entries. So we're gonna move along as best we can and not have to do an extension.
We are at 4.0 discussion items. We have 4A, the Front Range Baseball League at Legion Field. Mr. Greg Edson, you need to give Tony the $20 for his second.
Pay it forward, pay it forward. Good evening, everyone, how are we doing tonight? All right, so we've had some emails go back and forth, but I kind of wanted to fill everybody in with where we're at. Credit to Josh Langford for kind of making these connections and bringing this Front Range Baseball League into Fort Morgan. Essentially what it is, college kids that play baseball in the summer go all over the country and play baseball. You know, there's the Cape Cod League is probably the most famous, renowned league that these college guys go to. But there is a league in kind of eastern Colorado all the way over to Boulder, as well as up to Gering, Nebraska, and kind of in between. Oregon ended up kind of being a middle ground where the league felt like it'd be beneficial to add a team. And essentially what that means for us is that the league and the team that Fort Morgan and call Fort Morgan home would be leasing the Legion Field baseball complex from us throughout the summer, looking at around 20 games that they would host. There's actually an ownership piece to this team. And so the owner of the team lines up the coach, pays the coach, gets their players, does all of that, does the promotions to try to get people out to the ballpark. I think it's going to be a cool option for people. It's going to draw people from out of town definitely for every game, whether it's parents of the kids playing, relatives of the kids playing. But kind of that fun summer evening feel for some good high-level college baseball to be played at Legion Field. My goal tonight was to keep you guys informed and keep you up to date with where we're at. We're not quite at the contract level yet. Josh and I are working with the representative from the league to finalize kind of the details of what that contract would look like, kind of breaking it down into, you know, what the league's responsibilities are, what we would have local people responsible for, and then the school district responsibility, which is going to be very minimum for the school district. It's basically to have the field there. And they take care of maintenance, they take care of field prep, lining, all that kind of stuff. They do charge admission, they run their own concession stands. So it's a pretty neat opportunity, I think, to be able to get some people in town. With there being a league in town, they would probably also be reaching out looking for host families for these college kids, a place to stay over the summer. My assumption is a lot of these kids will be looking for some summertime jobs and different things as well while they're here. It's not just baseball 24/7. But I do think it's a cool opportunity for the district to kind of highlight our facilities. Right now, the number we're working with is around $5,000 that would be coming back to the district specifically for Legion Field and for some improvements at the baseball field. We've already been in talks to look and see about possibly raising the outfield fence, especially in center field. It's a pretty short fence anyway, and a lot of times in the summer, in the evenings, you know, that sun will glare off of the halftime shed, and it's right in the batter's eye. So being able to do something to make that a little bit better, that the league is interested in partnering or helping us with some of that stuff as well. So, any questions? Yes.
So if they're leasing it for the whole summer, would that infringe on the Fort Morgan High School, other clubs and teams that play there?
No, they'll build their schedule based around our need, you know, especially early in the summer with our big tournaments that we have. Those are all dates that they won't have access to the field. So they build their schedule around what our schedule is. So we won't be pushing our kids off so they can play. Any other questions? All right, hopefully by probably not the next meeting, the following meeting, we'll have contracts in hand for you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, 4B, the resolution to cancel the school board election. Whereas the, I'm going to read this, just so we don't know. Whereas the only matter before the electors of the regular biennial school election on November 4, 2025 is the election of 3 persons to fill 3 offices of school director, and whereas 3 individuals have nomination petitions with sufficient signatures to qualify as candidates, and whereas the deadline for filing an affidavit of intent to be a write-in candidate is passed with no individuals filing such an affidavit, and whereas state law at Colorado Revised Statute subsection 1-5-208, parentheses 1.5, parentheses, authorizes the Board of Education by resolution to cancel the election and declare the candidates elected if at the close of business on September 2nd, 2025, there are not more candidates than offices to be filled at the election, including candidates filing affidavits of intent to be write-in candidates. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education, Fort Morgan County School District Area 3 is determined that the prerequisites for canceling the election have been met, so the 2025 regular school biennial election is canceled. Be it further resolved that Mrs. Beth Morford, the designated election official for the regular school biennial election, is authorized to take all the necessary and appropriate steps to cancel the election, including providing notice of the cancellation by publication and by posting notice at each polling location in the office of the designated election official and in the office of county clerk and recorder, and be it further resolved that the designated election official shall be officially notified the county clerk and recorder of this action, so that election expenses to date can be prorated accordingly, and be it further resolved that the following individuals are hereby declared elected by acclamation: Mrs. Amy Brampton, Mrs. Katie Jess, and Mrs. Christy Chisholm. And I need to scroll. Be it further resolved that the designated election official shall notify these candidates of the cancellation of the election and of their result in election by acclamation, and be it further resolved that between election day and the next regular meeting of the Board of Education or the board's organization meeting, whichever comes first, the designated election official shall provide these candidates with certificates of election, after which they shall take the oath of office within 10 days and will be therefore qualified to participate in meetings of the Board of Education. For C, Performance Services Secured Entrance Project at Pioneer Elementary School. Any questions, discussion, yay-nos? All right, moving right along. 4D, longevity bonuses. You have before you those documents. And Mr. Fresco went over those. Discussion? Next, you have 4E, 2025-26 stipend list. Any questions, comments? F, resolution for emergency approval of policies and policy revisions from August 20, 2025. I'm just going to read through the title: BOE Resolution for Emergency Adoption Immigration Policies 2025.09.15, JRA-JRC Student Records Release of Information on Students Reading with Changes, JRA-JRC Student Records Release of Information on Students for Board Approval, KLG Relations with State Agencies Reading with Changes, KLG Relations with State Agencies for Board Approval, KLG-R Relations with Federal Immigration Officials Reading with Changes, New Regulation, and KLG-R Relations with Federal Immigration Officials for Board Approval. Any discussion? Okay, moving on. 4G, Policies, District Revision. This is the third reading. I'm not going to read those because it's the third reading. Same with 4H. There's quite a list. Discussion? Okay. 4I, this is the second reading. JAK-E-1 Student Restraint Incident Report Form, JKE-1 or JKA-U-2, brief restraint notification form, JKA-U-3 restraint incident review form, JKE-4 restraint informed consent, MCSDRE 3-JKA-E-1 student restraint incident reform, and MCSDRE 3-JKA-E-2 complaint procedures and regulations regarding the use of restraint. Questions, discussions? And we are going to retire BDFB, Vocational Advisory Council. This has been a policy since 1995. It's not had any revisions. We think it's kind of a replicate, so we're going to go ahead and retire that. Is there any questions, discussion? Okay, you have before you the consent agenda. Pleasure of the board.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Humber?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Mindy Smith? Sarah Whitney?
6A, resolution to cancel school board election. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Roll call.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Humber?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Mindy Smith? Sarah Whitney?
6B, approved performance services for the secure entrance project at Pioneer Elementary School. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Mindy Smith? Sarah Whitney?
6C, 2025 longevity bonuses. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve. Second.
Aye. Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Mindy Smith? Sarah Whitney?
Okay, next we have 60, approved board members abstain from voting for the 2025-26 stipends list. The following board members, Ms. Chris Brown abstained from voting for her son, Mr. Michael Barkley. Ms. Katie Jess abstained for voting for herself. Mr. John Prouty abstained from voting for his wife, Mrs. Amy Prouty. And Mrs. Mindy Smith abstained from voting for her husband, Mr. Eric Smith. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Mindy Smith? Sarah Whitney?
Okay, 60, you have before you to approve the 25-26 stipend for Mr. Michael Barkley. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call.
Chris Brown?
Abstain.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Mindy Smith? Sarah Whitney?
You have before you 6F, approve the 2025-26 stipend for Ms. Katie Jess. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Abstain.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Mindy Smith?
Next, 6G, approve the 25-26 stipend of Mrs. Amy Prouty. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Abstain.
Mindy Smith? Sarah Whitney?
6H, approve the 25-26 stipend for Mr. Eric Smith. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Mindy Smith? Sarah Whitney?
6I, 25-26 stipend list. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Mindy Smith? Sarah Whitney?
6J, resolution for emergency approval of policies from policy revisions August 5. Pleasure of the board.
Second.
Roll call.
Chris Brown? Aye. Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess. Aye. John Powdy.
Aye.
Wendy Smith.
Aye.
Sarah Whitney.
6K, policies revision. Roll call.
Chris Brown.
Aye.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Powdy.
Aye.
Wendy Smith. Aye. Sarah Whitney.
6L, policies, district revisions, third reading. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Chris Brown.
Aye.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Powdy.
Aye.
Wendy Smith. Aye. Sarah Whitney.
6M, policies, third reading. Pleasure of the board. Roll call, please.
Chris Brown.
Aye.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Powdy.
Aye.
Wendy Smith.
Aye.
Sarah Whitney.
6N, miscellaneous school supplies donations by Walmart. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Chris Brown.
Aye.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Powdy.
Aye.
Wendy Smith. Sarah Whitney.
6O, donation from the Schneider Family Foundation to Green Acres Elementary School to update the nonfiction section of their library. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve. Second.
Chris Brown.
Aye.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Powdy.
Aye.
Wendy Smith. Sarah Whitney.
6P, Fort Morgan High School participation at the FFA State Association Fall Conference in Fort Collins on October 4th and 5th, 2025. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Brown.
Aye.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Powdy.
Aye.
Wendy Smith. Sarah Whitney.
Okay, moving right along, advanced planning. The Board of Education meeting in October will be October 6th and 20th. Fort Morgan High School homecoming, October 7th through the 10th. Our Fort Morgan High School Mustangs will compete against the Mountain View High School Lions on October 10th. And the homecoming dance is on October 11th. Is there any further business to come before the board at this time? If not, we are adjourned at 7:42.